Stories with Haunting Gurus.
All right, me minions, I am joined by Russ McKamey from McKamey Manor, the Home Haunters Association 2010 second place winner for the best home haunt, and the Haunters Video Awards 2009 winner for the best indoor walkthrough haunt. Russ.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
You got a nice set of pipes there, Russ. From what I understand, you are a fellow disc jockey.
Yeah, I am. I'm a DJ and entertainer and singer and all that kind of stuff. So much more than just a DJ, as I like to say.
No.
So I get out there and do all the audience fun, participation stuff and sing a few songs and whatever it takes to get the audience either staying or going. We do our best.
Which is a little different from what you do on the other side of the spectrum, which you're not really going for the smiles. You're going for the, oh my God!
Yeah,
it was hilarious. I watched the video, and it was part one of that walkthrough, and they have that mom.
Yeah, we just posted that. I just started working on the 2010 stuff, so I think that's the one I just put up there. And she's pretty calm the first round, but the next few things that you'll see online with her, it gets pretty crazy. I mean, she's in tears and she's balled up on the ground. And I can't get her up, and it gets pretty intense. The first part you saw was pretty lighthearted, but after a while, we really start to lay into her. We mask her and do the whole hostage thing with her and get her really freaked out.
You're walking a fine line there from committing a federal offense, I think.
Yeah. People always tell me that, you're doing too much, but it's one of the things that I can get away with having a home haunt. Obviously, if I'm going pro and out there where it's, paying customers and the rules are much more, tough, obviously, I can't do any of this stuff. And I understand that. But, yeah, I get away with a ton of stuff because it's super aggressive. It's really in your face more than what most folks are used to, especially when they come to your home haunt. They're expecting, a little cutesy Party City, five and dime stuff. And then they get in there and it's like crazy. And so the shock value combined with, all that's going on in there, because there's so much happening in every room constantly that they're just getting bombarded. And my actors are just tossing them around, and it's pretty nutty. And folks know, they also kind of know what's happening because they all, they have to sign a waiver to even get into the place. And so they're very well briefed about
the physical abuse, the mental abuse.
Physical abuse, mental abuse, the claustrophobia, the water. It's very wet inside this haunt. I mean, you will definitely not be looking the same when you exit as you did when you first came in. I mean, they wind up just being drenched to the bone. So yeah.
Hey, I'm all about you filming, basically a Halloween wet T-shirt contest for me and posting all the, the hot chicks online with the soak it wet costumes.
Yes, for sure, because everybody gets filmed. And what's cool too is that they don't mind. At first they're like, oh, the lights, but after 2 seconds they forget about the lights, and it's all about the terror. And I offer them a free DVD of their tour after it's all said and done. So that's something that they enjoy as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool of you.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get a grasp of the size of this haunt. How long does it take?
So anywhere from 30 minutes to close to an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes on a minimum 30 minutes to get through it. And that's rushing them through, that's running them through, that's bypassing some of the rooms, because like we have the the coffin ride, the last ride, that motion ride. And so I don't always use that, but I will use that if I have somebody really good that's really going to give me some good footage. Because for me, it's all about the footage. I love putting the whole thing together, but I really love that final business of where they're coming through, and I can kind of act as the director and get some kick butt footage. And so if they're a fun, really active group, then we'll slow things up and let the actors really lay into them. So that's why I can take up to an hour.
Yeah, and if they're assholes, you're bum rushing them out the door.
Yeah, if they're no fun, because I have I've got a zillion people out in front who want to get in. so it kind of is the the golden ticket if they can get in here, because not everybody can. I turn a lot of people away at night, so I definitely want the best of the best. It makes it more fun for me, obviously, and it's because they're waiting a long time out there. So
you're only allowing in a group at a time, right?
Exactly. So that's why I try to speed things up as well, because it is a very personalized experience. I can't just let them run through, because it is just a house. It is just a backyard, even though it feels like it goes on forever and ever and ever, but it's actually a very small space. But the way I have it built up, in the way that I flow them through the different rooms, it just goes on forever in their minds, and it feels like an hour, because hey, I guess it is an hour. But you wouldn't think it's that long of a tour, but it is once you're inside.
How much space are you working off of?
Keep in mind, it's just the backyard. What I did is I just built an overhang, your typical good old overhang that you see on a Sunday afternoon in the backyard, and I built it as large as I could, and then I just started putting up walls around it, and then on the side of the house. So I'm using as much as I can. I use the garage as well, of course. We start in the garage and the spike room and the swamp room and all that stuff, and then we just kind of go through the side of the house. But again, it doesn't look like you're on the side of the house. So probably footage-wise, the backyard, maybe 1,300 square foot, maybe, not much at all, but it still takes that long to get through just because of the way it's designed. And then, of course, the garage as well, then the backyard, and there's parts in the backyard that aren't covered that we use out as well for the the chainsaw scenes. We used to chase folks in the front yard out the gates and toss them down the street, but that got really hairy because people would be so freaked out that they'd be obviously running in the street and banging into cars, and they'd be tripping and falling. So I've had to kind of keep the whole chainsaw activity in the back at the very end, and then let them mosey out of the gate.
You don't want the lawsuits.
We don't want the lawsuits. Waiver or not, it wouldn't matter. If somebody got hurt, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, they'd come at you, and you'd probably end up having to pay something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't want that.
I mean, we get people throwing up inside, all the typical stuff. We get people, just falling to the ground. I can't get them out of there because they're so freaked out. But no one's been hurt. So knock on wood after all these years. So, we try to keep the actors up to speed, and we get crazy, but we're not pounding on people.
You're not just open on October 31st.
It's all of October. At least it's all the Fridays and Saturdays in October, and some of November as well if it's still going strong, and it usually is. So yeah, it's rolling, and rolling the whole month.
It's a lot of work.
It is, man. I tell you,
you must be turning down some weddings in the month of October.
Absolutely. October, I do no shows whatsoever. It's all about the haunt, and we got a great crew though. We got some really diehard actors and actresses that are just super cool. They're all a bunch of high school kids and stuff, and we got some adults as well. But they've been with me for all these years, and without them, it wouldn't be anything. Without them, it'd just be walking through some fun rooms with a few some props. But they make it come to life. They just go nuts, and they're the best, man. They're the best.
How many actors do you have?
Oh, probably each night we're looking at 9 or 10, and they'd all just rotate through. So it's a big choreographed dance. They go from one spot to the next, and they know exactly what's going on. It's like a fine tooth comb, and we rehearse and practice, and I don't have to say squat to them. They know where to go from one scene to the next. They change costumes, boom, 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 get on to the next set. So the audience thinks there's 8,000 people in here running around when there's only just a handful. And so it's just, that's all part of the illusion. The illusion of space and size, and the illusion that we'd have, a zillion people in here, which we don't.
So is each group being guided through? Well, they must, because they're being videotaped.
Yeah. So basically, I'm guiding them through. Yeah, I'm not talking or anything per se, but I have to, just because things are so tight inside, and there's so much going on. And each room has so many scares to it, and each room has its own animatronics. Each room's got its own CGI effect, and so things have to light off at certain times. And again, for me, after I put this whole thing together, it's all about getting some really good footage and making sure everybody sees everything. You know, I want the whole group to really get involved and not be stuck in the back and missing this and that. So if I guide it through, I'm able to, you know, control the speed and make sure that everybody's getting scared and that everybody is being entertained and not missing anything, and all the scares are being hit. Because, you know, nothing's worse. You walk through a haunt, and then, you know, you're in the tail end and you don't see nothing because all the fun stuff's already taken place. And so we try to avoid that by
I'm always the first one. I get right up in the front.
Yeah. I try
the front of the middle, because I know that's where the majority of the scares are coming.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. But sometimes you don't get there, and then you're like, well, that was sucky. It's like, no, really, it's a good haunt. You just missed it, you know. So I definitely control it, and it just makes sense for the way ours is here, because again, it's so small, so claustrophobic, so many things crammed in every room that people would be banging into stuff and breaking stuff, and this way I'm able to kind of, you know, nix that a little bit and keep it fairly calm, and, you know, the order of it all. So
how many different rooms do you have?
About 20, I guess.
Give us a quick overview of as many as you can.
Oh, you know, there's the swamp room, and then again, a lot of water. So the swamp room, there's the spike room, which is a small box that they get crammed into, and then, you know, they look up and boom, the spikes drop on top of them, and water balloons hit on them, and they get all panicky because they don't know what the heck all this liquid is, and that's the first time they start getting wet. So it's like, you know, they start catching the avenue there a little bit. But so, and then it goes into the industrial room, and then we have a dungeon and a coffin room, which we have the coffin ride that some folks will go in depending upon how good they are. And then it goes into an asylum room, and we have a big clown room, and it goes into a full-scale kitchen with all the fun stuff happening in there, you know, people coming out of the microwaves and out of the refrigerators, and that goes into a living room area, and folks popping out of the couch, and the zombie attack scene, and it goes into what else? Into a big meat locker, which is probably my favorite room, just because it's real detailed and really crazy and really aggressive in there.